please welcome to the stage STS First Vice President, Dr. Vinay Badwar.
Well, it is my great honor and pleasure to introduce your president, Dr. Joseph F. Sabik III. Now, Dr. Sabik's professional trajectory reflects a familiar but instructive narrative in academic surgery. Rigorous preparation, principled mentorship, and a disciplined pursuit of excellence over the decades. Joe's story begins as many great American stories do, with immigration and aspiration. His parents, Grace and Joseph Sabik II, were first-generation Americans. Joe's father immigrated from Poland, his mother from Lebanon, following Joe's grandfather to Fall River, Massachusetts, a city shaped by immigrants who came to work in its mills and build better lives for their families. Joe's mother was a homemaker and remains well into her 90s Joe's most devoted supporter. His father was an accountant with a tireless work ethic who instilled in his children a deep respect for education and perseverance. Joe grew up modestly, attended public schools, and like many of us in this room, learned early on that persistence, intelligence, and grit were the truest measures of success. Joe has two siblings, his brother Mark, a businessman, and his sister Carol, a retired OBGYN, and we are delighted to have Carol and Joe's niece Camille with us today. Tragically, Joe's father passed away from coronary artery disease at the age of 55 in Joe's final year of medical school, an event that possibly shaped his career focus and his deep understanding of the stakes of our profession. Early in life, Joe demonstrated two passions that would ultimately converge: science, and wait for it, music. He began playing the string bass in middle school and progressed to become the top bassist in Massachusetts, performing in the All-Eastern United States High School Orchestra. He was accepted to the Tanglewood Institute, an elite program taught by members of the Boston Symphony Orchestra. Now, a little-known fact: Joe seriously considered a career in music. But unfortunately for the classics, and fortunately for our patients and the profession, Joe decided to pick up another type of instrument and trade in the symphony for surgery. However, the experience gained from more than 10,000 hours of disciplined practice taught him invaluable lessons: that preparation builds confidence, that mastery takes repetition, and that great performance is always a team effort. Lessons that each of us know perfectly translate to the operating room. Joe's second passion, science, proved equally formative. In high school, mentors encouraged him to submit a research report on pollution to the Environmental Protection Agency of the United States. This earned him a trip to the White House and even a presidential citation from President Carter. That curiosity led him to MIT, where his college mentor introduced him to Nobel laureate microbiologist Salvatore Luria. In Dr. Luria's lab, Joe helped create and discover a new bacterium and authored his first peer-reviewed publication. And after observing Joe's intellectual rigor and dexterity, Professor Luria encouraged him to pursue medicine, and then surgery, the first of many pivotal mentorship experiences. Joe matriculated at Harvard Medical School, where among many life-defining moments, his first encounter with cardiothoracic surgery was with AATS past president Larry Cohn. Watching Dr. Cohn operate with precision, efficiency, and purpose made Joe certain that surgery was his calling. But the most life-altering experience from his time in medical school was meeting his future wife, Ellen. 1 year his junior, intellectually formidable, athletically accomplished, and exceptionally patient, Close friends throughout medical school, they only began dating when they started residency together at Massachusetts General Hospital. Ellen in internal medicine, Joe in surgery. When they committed to a life together during Joe's final year of residency, Joe reached a conclusion that few would dispute. He definitely married up. While at Mass General, Joe found himself, as many have, in the warm mentorship embrace of legendary thoracic surgeon and STS past president, Doug Mathieson. It was Dr. Mathieson who encouraged Joe to pursue cardiothoracic surgery and helped him secure a fellowship at Cleveland Clinic with Dr. Toby Cosgrove. There, Ellen pursued cardiology, and together they both built a distinguished career and a family, welcoming son Joe and daughter Julia. They balanced demanding professional lives with family skiing and Cleveland baseball fandom, in case you didn't pick that up from this morning. Ellen is a highly successful cardiologist and the current governor of the Ohio chapter of the American College of Cardiology. Their son Joe completed his MBA and now works as a data analyst for Cleveland Clinic. Julia is finishing law school at UVA, where she is the editor of the Law Review and about to begin her career at Williams & Connolly in Washington, D.C. We are privileged to have with us today Ellen, Joe, Julia, Julia's boyfriend Ian, Joe's sister Carol, and his niece Camille. Please join me in recognizing them with a very warm round of applause. Dr. Sabik's operative philosophy and life of professionalism was shaped by Cleveland mentors Fred Loop, Toby Cosgrove, and Bruce Lytle. Dr. Lytle, renowned for taking on complex cases, many of them redos, once told Joe, "The hours you spend with the patient in the operating room are the most important hours of that patient's life." In preparation for today, I spoke with Bruce Lytle, and he reflected on Joe with reverence. Perhaps it was Joe's persistence and grit from his upbringing, he said, but Joe always had tenacity in the OR. He went on to define this by describing that even as a young man, he was impressive. He would never give up. No matter the hour or the complexity of the case, he would hang in there until he got things right. But perhaps the most telling comment of his technical ability came when, that might actually resonate with this audience, Bruce noted that Joe is not just an administrator or an author. Joe is a real surgeon. At the Cleveland Clinic, Joe excelled across every mission: clinical care, education, and leadership. He served as program director, chief of cardiac surgery, and ultimately the chair of the Department of Thoracic and Cardiovascular Surgery. In 2017, Joe became chair of surgery at University Hospitals of Cleveland and Case Western Reserve University, now overseeing 150 surgical faculty across 5 hospitals. I spoke with Dan Simon, hospital president and an interventional cardiologist himself. He described Joe as a consummate surgical leader, focused on quality, technical excellence, and faculty development. Joe transformed a nascent cardiac surgery program into one of the largest in the state, now performing 1,700 cases annually. Importantly, as system CEO, Cliff Majarian noted to me, in addition to system leadership, Joe was the ultimate healing physician who delivers patient care with kindness, compassion, as well as innovation, serving as an inspiration to all. Now, it takes focused leadership to run a department of that size. And having the opportunity to work side by side with Joe this year, I can attest to his leadership style. Calm, deliberate, organized, and purpose-driven. Qualities every surgeon hopes to see in the operating room when especially things get tough. Finally, on Joe's passion for education, Bruce Lytle reflected on his time at the clinic's program director when he noted that Joe innovated methods to make surgical education measurable. By defining task-based time benchmarks so residents could objectively track their operative progress, Joe did not just train surgeons, he structured success. This passion for clinical outcomes in education culminates in his vision and theme of this year's outstanding meeting, Teaching for Tomorrow Together. A technically superior surgeon, accomplished educator, and a researcher with nearly 300 peer-reviewed manuscripts in prestigious journals, including several landmark contributions, respected department chair and leader, devoted husband and father, and a close friend with whom I've had the honor and privilege of serving beside this year. Members and guests, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in enthusiastically welcoming our 61st President of the Society of Thoracic Surgeons, Dr. Joseph Sabik.
Well, good morning. Thank you, Vinay. I'm glad my children are here to hear that. It has been the highlight of my professional career to serve as your president this past year. The mission of the Society of Thoracic Surgeons is to advance the highest standards of cardiothoracic surgical care through education, research, advocacy, and quality improvement. We pursue this mission by fostering rigorous scientific inquiry, developing and updating evidence-based guidelines, creating platforms for data collection and quality benchmarking, and providing world-class education. Since our founding, we have held the conviction that every patient with thoracic and cardiovascular disease deserves care that is technically excellent, safer, smarter, and more compassionate each year. Our responsibility is to make that progress possible. Equally important, we are committed to being an inclusive society. The STS welcomes all who wish to join: surgeons, trainees, advanced practice providers, and our multidisciplinary partners. From the moment you become interested in cardiothoracic surgery through retirement, you are welcome. If you are committed to improving cardiothoracic care, there is a place for you in the STS. At our core, we exist to ensure that all of us benefit from the collective knowledge, skill, and shared commitment of an inclusive global community of cardiothoracic surgeons. Our mission and our commitment to inclusiveness shape the theme of this year's meeting and my address, Teaching for Tomorrow Together. Our invited speakers embody that theme. Shola Richards reminds us, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Terry Tito Francona models education and caring in his coaching and leadership style. Jeff Martha showed how industry shapes the surgery of tomorrow. Frank Selke will share lessons on building a career as a surgeon scientist, and Ben Aldis will speak on wellness and resilience. I thank each of them for contributing to this meeting. Teaching for Tomorrow Together is a commitment to being proactive. It asks what knowledge, technical skills, and non-technical skills will matter in the coming decade. How do we prepare for procedures that are not yet standard, technologies that are not yet mature, and care systems that are not yet in place? Let us begin with tomorrow. Our field is advancing at a pace we have never seen. New valve technologies, hybrid procedures, minimally invasive and robotic platforms, novel heart failure therapies, evolving oncology paradigms, advanced imaging, and artificial intelligence are no longer concepts on the horizon. They are here now. We honor our profession and our patients by facing the future head-on. Our patients rely on us to deliver the most advanced, life-changing therapies. When we come together, we bring something rare in one room: skill, creativity, courage, and the capacity to improve lives. Using this time only to review what we already know is a missed opportunity. Our meeting shouldn't reflect the past. It should launch the future. Our meetings can be engines of progress, spaces to challenge dogma, elevate bold science and technology, welcome new voices, and build bridges from discovery to the operating room. That is the spirit of this year's program. It's about embracing the future, teaching and learning from one another, and moving forward together. By focusing on what comes next, smarter diagnostics, less invasive and more precise therapies, and data that truly informs decisions, we build a better future for our patients. However, building that future requires courage, curiosity, and importantly, change. For us as cardiothoracic surgeons, this is not unusual. Our specialty was born at the edge of what was thought possible. From the first cardiopulmonary bypass to transplantation, mechanical support, minimally invasive techniques, and transcatheter therapies, each generation has faced the arrival of a new future. This is such a moment as well. If you doubt the need to change, consider one of the major challenges our specialty faces. Medical and interventional therapies have advanced dramatically and now compete directly with many of the surgical procedures we offer. Even when these non-surgical options have outcomes that are not as good as those of our surgical procedures, many patients prefer them to avoid the early morbidity and mortality associated with our operations. If we do not respond by reducing early risk and improving long-term outcomes, our operations risk becoming the option of last resort. Our responsibility is clear: make surgery safer, more durable, and more favorable for patients. When we stop learning or innovating, we shift the cost of our hesitation onto the patient, something that none of us believe is acceptable. I see a great opportunity ahead of us. Emerging technologies promise procedures that are less invasive, safer early on, and more durable over the long term. If we embrace these advances, we will not merely preserve our place in treatment algorithms, we will create a future for cardiothoracic surgery that is safer, more precise, and more compelling. To build that future, I propose 3 concrete actions. First, fully implement proven less invasive surgical techniques and strategies that improve long-term outcomes. Second, actively adopt and integrate new technologies. And third, promote greater specialization and development of focused centers of excellence. Together, these steps provide a practical, achievable roadmap for advancing our specialty. First, we should apply what we already know to reduce morbidity and mortality while improving long-term outcomes. Less invasive surgeries for valvular, pulmonary, and esophageal disease offer clear benefits. Smaller incisions reduce blood loss and transfusion, diminish pain and wound complications, and lower pulmonary morbidity. They also shorten ventilation times, ICU stays, and hospital length of stays, and enable a quicker return to normal activity. These techniques align with patient preferences, offering less disruption, smaller incisions, and faster recoveries. Yet, they remain underutilized. Currently, only 3% of isolated coronary, 17% of isolated aortic valve surgeries, 34% of isolated mitral operations, and 37% of esophageal procedures are performed using minimally invasive methods. We have room to improve. Equally important is the broader adoption of strategies that improve long-term outcomes. For example, multi-arterial grafting prolongs survival, reduces recurrent ischemic events, yet it remains underutilized, performed in only 16% of surgical coronary revascularizations. Evidence alone has not driven change at scale. These operations are technically more complex and take longer to perform, but that is not an acceptable reason to avoid adopting them. We need to expand the use of these life-extending surgical techniques. Greater adoption of proven strategies will help patients now and position us to integrate the next wave of innovation. As I said, that wave is here. Artificial intelligence, robotics, and advanced imaging will influence and reshape what we do. These tools will touch every aspect of care: evaluation in the clinic, operations in the OR, and monitoring in the ICU and on the wards. They will deliver what patients generally want: personalized guidance, reduced early morbidity and mortality, earlier return to life, and improved long-term outcomes. Now let's explore how AI, imaging, and robotics, and their convergence may transform care. Artificial intelligence can integrate and analyze vast amounts of patient data, such as medical histories, lab results, imaging, and prior outcomes. By uncovering patterns and risk factors not evident at presentation, AI will generate patient-specific preoperative assessments, help compare risks and benefits, and select the best treatment for each patient. By presenting personalized information on risks, benefits, and alternatives, AI will strengthen shared decision-making. AI will also transform how we use imaging. It will help us interpret studies more quickly and accurately, highlight subtle anatomical abnormalities that might otherwise be overlooked, and generate detailed 3D reconstructions of patient anatomy. These improvements in visualization will help us determine the best surgical approach and enhance operative precision. Beyond interpretation, AI in advanced imaging will enable realistic, patient-specific surgical simulations. We will be able to rehearse complex operations in virtual environments before ever entering the operating room. We can test surgical strategies, anticipate pitfalls, and refine our plans. These simulations will not only sharpen our preparation, but also serve as important training tools for trainees, early career surgeons, and entire surgical teams. In this way, AI will help tailor surgical plans, improve safety, and reduce early operative risk. Imagine a patient with multivessel coronary disease choosing among medical therapy, PCI, or surgery. AI can integrate angiographic data and patient variables to model survival for each option. When surgery is best, AI can predict long-term conduit patency for specific conduit target pairings and propose a grafting strategy that reduces early risk while maximizing long-term survival. Or a patient with mitral regurgitation. AI can fuse preoperative imaging into a 3D digital twin that precisely depicts valve pathology. AI can also simulate disease progression if untreated and project risks of atrial fibrillation, heart failure, and loss of repairability. Side by side, two futures emerge, one in which the valve is not replaced or repaired and function declines, and another in which prompt repair preserves function and life expectancy. Preoperatively, we can rehearse repairs on virtual models, testing leaflet resection, neocord placement, and ring sizing, all while AI evaluates durability. The best plan is then selected and performed. In addition to preoperative and operative decision-making, AI will augment postoperative care by enabling earlier detection of complications. Continuous telemetry, ventilator, lab, and imaging data streams can be integrated in real time, allowing AI to detect subtle patterns that precede patient deterioration. Predictive models can flag patients at elevated risks for bleeding, arrhythmia, low output, respiratory failure, sepsis, or readmission, prompting targeted diagnostics and earlier interventions that will reduce early morbidity and mortality. Robotic surgery expands what is technically possible. With high-definition 3D visualization and wristed instruments that surpass the human hand, robotic surgery enables precise dissection and reconstruction through smaller incisions, resulting in less pain, reduced blood loss, shorter hospital stays, and faster recovery. Advanced imaging will also play a pivotal role in the future of surgery. Modalities such as high-resolution 3D imaging, intraoperative MI, and augmented reality provide real-time visualization and overlay critical anatomy into the surgeon's field of view, enhancing navigation and reducing the risk of complications. However, the true potential of robotics and advanced imaging will be realized when they are fully integrated with artificial intelligence. This will move us towards a future in which many components of an operation, and likely eventually entire procedures, can be performed by robotic systems. When combined, AI as the brain, imaging as the eyes, and robotics as the hands, we unlock a future where surgery is more precise, consistent, personalized, and safer than ever. This future is not purely theoretical. Today, in research labs, AI-guided robots are performing autonomous bowel anastomoses and laparoscopic cholecystectomies in animal models, demonstrating that AI planning, image-guided perception, and robotic control can perform complex tasks safely, accurately, and consistently. This is not about replacing us. This is about enhancing our abilities with new tools. When robots handle repetitive, fatiguing, and technically exacting parts of an operation, we can focus on making complex judgments, synthesizing information, leading teams, and stepping in when nuance matters. Our role shifts from performing every manual step to planning, supervising, and intervening as needed. Surgery remains human-led, but technology-enhanced. To truly participate in this future, we will need further specialization. Our specialty is increasingly complex, and none of us can master every cutting-edge technique. Those who specialize will be better positioned to refine techniques, interpret evolving evidence, and safely implement novel therapies. Experience matters in cardiothoracic surgery. Those of us who focus our practice develop refined technical skills and sophisticated judgment, thereby improving operative safety and long-term patient outcomes. Specialized centers are also uniquely positioned to accelerate innovation. By concentrating complex cases, advanced technology, and research within defined programs, these centers generate the patient volumes and data required to conduct meaningful clinical trials, refine risk models, and evaluate new devices and techniques. Finally, specialization is critical to training the next generation. Structured fellowships in focused areas enable trainees to develop the depth of knowledge and technical skills required to practice at a high level in an increasingly demanding environment. By deliberately cultivating specialized expertise, the field can better meet the growing complexity of patient care, support multidisciplinary care models, and sustain continuous innovation, thereby building a more capable and progressive future for cardiothoracic surgery. The future of our specialty lies in embracing rapidly advancing technologies that promise to revolutionize surgical practice and improve patient outcomes. By focusing on less invasive, safer, and more precise procedures, our field can maintain its relevance and improve long-term patient outcomes. Together, these strategies will advance our specialty. Teaching. Preparing for tomorrow's operation requires rethinking how we teach and learn. Our meetings can lead this transformation by incorporating more educational methods. This year's program features many educational methods. I propose we consider adopting them more broadly and systemically. Today, I will focus on 6 complementary educational methods: deliberate practice, simulation, mentorship and coaching, team-based learning, reflective practice, and lifelong learning. First, deliberate practice. We did not become cardiothoracic surgeons through passive absorption. Our surgical skill was built through purposeful, structured repetition. In other words, deliberate practice. Deliberate practice breaks complex operations into discrete components, targeting micro skills. This is how we learned during our training. We must engage in deliberate practice to acquire the new skills necessary for tomorrow's operations. Our meetings can help by aligning lectures with skill labs that have clear objectives and assessments, so we leave with skill assessments and actionable next steps. With this type of programming, meetings can become recalibration points where even senior surgeons not only refresh their technical skills, but also learn new ones. Second, simulation. The operating room is not always the best place to learn new technical skills. Simulation, ranging from bench models and 3D printed anatomy to virtual and augmented reality, offers a safe, standardized, and accessible learning environment. Meetings can host simulation villages, areas that showcase simulation for cardiothoracic procedures, and scenario-based sessions that recreate crises such as difficult weaning from bypass, unexpected aortic dissection, or ECMO thrombosis, all in real time with structured debriefs. These learning experiences can transform meetings into interfaces between technological innovation and its safe adoption. Third, mentorship and coaching. Even with the best simulators and the most rigorous practice, we do not recognize our own blind spots. This is where mentorship and coaching are indispensable. We have traditionally thought of mentorship and coaching as a senior surgeon guiding a trainee. But we now recognize several other important paradigms. For example, longitudinal mentorship provides career-spanning guidance. Technical coaching offers focused, case-based feedback. And peer mentorship connects colleagues at similar stages in their careers. In other high-performance fields, such as professional sports, a coach is always present. Yet in surgery, structured coaching becomes rare after training. We should change that. During our meetings, we can host coaching clinics, small group sessions in which participants bring video clips of their operations to review with expert surgeons, focusing on efficiency, economy of motion, and error prevention. We can also build mentorship matchmaking into the meeting, using pre-meeting surveys to pair early career surgeons with senior mentors in similar subspecialties or practice settings. Fourth, team-based learning. Surgery is a team sport. Anesthesiologists, perfusions, nurses, and surgeons must act as one. Yet our education remains siloed. Modern education must reflect this team dependence by fostering shared mental models, interdisciplinary respect, and non-technical skills, including communication, leadership, and situational awareness. Meetings should include jointly led sessions and crisis management workshops with structured debriefs that focus not on who was at fault, but how the team communicated, allocated tasks, and made decisions under pressure. Our meetings then become opportunities for entire care teams to learn together. Fifth, reflective practice. Reflective practice goes far beyond the traditional morbidity and mortality conference. It means asking, what did I intend? What happened? Why? And what will I change? It requires regular review of personal and institutional outcomes and treating variation as an opportunity for learning. Reflective practice turns experience into expertise. Meetings can promote reflection through data-focused sessions, registry benchmarking, and panels such as the case that changed my practice. Our meetings become mirrors of practice where honest reflection is treated as a core professional skill. Finally, lifelong self-directed learning. No single meeting sustains progress. Rather, each of us must identify specific learning goals and select conferences, courses, videos, and digital tools that support those goals. Our meetings can catalyze this by asking participants to arrive with learning objectives and leave with written action plans. Our societies can curate resource lists, including key guidelines, landmark trials, recommended videos, simulation tools to support learning. Meetings become anchors for lifelong and career-long learning. If we embed these 6 methods, deliberate practice, simulation, mentorship and coaching, reflective practice, and lifelong self-directed learning into our meetings, we will move from slides to skills. We will create laboratories for practice, forums for honest reflection, and catalysts for safer, more effective care. This is how meetings can help us keep pace with the changing field and ensure better outcomes for our patients. Together, we are in a period of unprecedented change. Less invasive therapies compete with surgical procedures, technology is reshaping every aspect of care, and patients have more choices than ever. One thing is certain, no individual surgeon or institution will advance cardiothoracic surgery care alone. Our greatest progress will come when we work together and are intentional about who we invite to join us in that work. Collaboration is essential. For much of our history, progress has been told as stories of individual surgical pioneers, such as the surgeon who performed the first open heart operation, the first lung resection, or the first heart transplant. But today's problems are system problems: aging populations with comorbidities, complex oncologic and structural heart disease, advanced heart failure, and congenital patients living into adulthood. These problems demand collective solutions. Working in isolation slows progress. When we share data, pool experience, and co-create standards, we move faster and more safely. Multi-center registries, collaborative trials, shared protocols, and cross-institutional training programs already show what is possible when we function as a community. Inclusion is not a courtesy. It is a source of strength and innovation. Inclusive teams make better decisions. This holds true in operating rooms, at conferences, and in research groups. When we include surgeons from diverse regions and practice settings, early career colleagues alongside senior leaders, women and underrepresented minorities, and multidisciplinary partners such as anesthesiologists, perfusionists, intensivists, nurses, and advanced practice providers, we identify problems and develop solutions we might otherwise miss. Inclusion matters for our patients too. Our patient population is diverse in language, culture, geography, and lived experience. If we do not reflect that diversity, we risk building systems that work for some, but not for others. When those designing our pathways and technologies reflect that diversity, we ask better questions and we build systems that serve everyone. Inclusion also strengthens our pipeline and shapes our future workforce. Medical students and trainees are watching. When they see a specialty that welcomes diverse backgrounds and values contribution over conformity, they are more likely to join and stay. If we want the best to choose cardiothoracic surgery, we must show them a field where they can belong and lead. How can we be more collaborative and inclusive? First, we must continue sharing data, participating in registries, joining multi-center trials, and publishing both our successes and failures. Second, we must be intentional about who is in the room. Program committees, guideline panels, and podiums should reflect the full scope of our specialty and our patients. Early career surgeons, women, colleagues from underrepresented backgrounds, and voices from the community and academia. Inclusion will not happen by accident. It requires deliberate choices. Third, we must redefine mentorship as a shared responsibility. Senior surgeons can open doors, sponsor careers, and invite junior colleagues to participate in projects and panels. Peers can support one another across institutions by sharing protocols, videos, and insights. Fourth, we must build truly multidisciplinary teams. Involve cardiology, oncology, radiology, anesthesia, intensivists, and nursing colleagues early in pathway design. This means holding joint conferences, co-authoring guidelines, and sharing ownership of outcomes. When we design care together, we deliver better care and teach our trainees what collaborative professionalism looks like. Finally, we must foster a culture of respect and psychological safety. People will not share new ideas or concerns if they feel dismissed or unsafe. In the operating room, in meetings, and online, we should model active listening, constructive disagreement, and gratitude for honest feedback. That culture is the foundation for collaboration and innovation. When every voice is heard and valued, we prevent harm and burnout and unlock the creativity, trust, and teamwork needed to succeed. In addition to collaborating with one another to advance our specialty, we as surgeons, in partnership with our professional societies, need to collaborate with industry. Purposefully, transparently, and ethically. As surgeons, we sit at the intersection of science, technology, and patient care. We bring clinical insight and judgment. Our professional societies are stewards of standards. They write guidelines, maintain registries, and monitor outcomes. They provide structure and oversight. Industry brings engineering expertise, manufacturing capacity, and capital. It brings the innovations that transform surgery. Therefore, the question is not whether we work with industry, but how. To do this, we must work together under clear rules that ensure technology development and education are safer, more effective, and most importantly, aligned with patient needs. Our partnerships should be designed to address clinical problems, support rigorous trials and registries, and post-market surveillance. We should also provide resources for simulation, proctorship, and hands-on training, thereby enabling the safe adoption of technologies. Societies should serve as honest brokers, convening surgeons, scientists, and industry under transparent rules that put patients first. Societies can develop neutral curricula, set minimum training and proctoring standards, and organize multi-center studies that fairly compare technology. This partnership requires a strong ethical foundation. Our primary obligation must be to patients, not to companies, prestige, or trends. Ethical collaboration demands transparency. We must disclose financial relationships and conflicts of interest. We must follow evidence over enthusiasm, requiring robust data before promoting widespread adoption. We must promote equity, ensuring advances do not widen disparities, and we must support patient-centered decision-making, adopting new technology only when it is best for the individual patient, not because it is new or heavily marketed. Our societies must codify these principles into policies and codes of conduct and model them through meetings, educational programs, and guidelines. When rules are explicit and enforced, collaboration can be both productive and trustworthy. The future of our specialty is bright. By working together, embracing tomorrow's technologies, and committing to continuous learning and innovation, we will push the boundaries of what is possible and improve patient outcomes. As we remain open to change, committed to excellence, and willing to share knowledge, we will preserve and elevate our profession for the next generation. Serving as your president this year has been the highlight of my career. Supporting our specialty and patients alongside the STS staff, led by our CEO, Elaine Weiss, and our volunteer surgeon leadership, has been deeply rewarding. Our management team is talented, intelligent, and dedicated to supporting the members and our patients. Equally valuable is our volunteer surgeon leadership, whose knowledge, guidance, and wisdom helped me lead the STS this past year. I am grateful to all of you. I would like to acknowledge several individuals who have supported me throughout my career. Without their mentorship, sponsorship, and coaching, I would not be here. My fellow surgical residents at the Massachusetts General Hospital taught me much. Our shared training years shaped who I am. Fellow residents Doug Wood, Tom McGilvery, John Mitchell, and others have remained close friends, coaches, and mentors. I am deeply grateful to the MGH attendings, each of whom taught me how to become a surgeon. I owe my move to Cleveland to Doug Mathieson, whose counsel led me to the Cleveland Clinic, an experience that profoundly shaped my career. At the Cleveland Clinic, residency felt like a kid in a candy store. The volume, variety, and quality of cases were unmatched. I learned from expert surgeons Toby Cosgrove, Bruce Lytle, Fred Loop, and Paul Taylor. While all were excellent teachers, I owe the most to Dr. Bruce Lytle, who always made time for me, cared about my education and well-being, and mentored, coached, and sponsored me throughout my career. After joining the Cleveland Clinic faculty, I achieved my research accomplishments with the support of Dr. Eugene Blackstone. He taught me his methods, provided access to his analytical tools, and honestly improved my manuscripts line by line. He insisted on excellence. That period of my career was my most academically productive, and I owe much of that to him. I also want to thank my former surgical and cardiology colleagues at the Cleveland Clinic. Working with such talented surgeons and physicians pushed me to work hard, contribute, and succeed. For the past 9 years, I've had the honor of serving as chair of the Department of Surgery at University Hospitals Case Western Reserve University. I thank Tom Zenti and Drs. Dan Simon and Cliff McGarrian for their support and for teaching me how to succeed as a department chair. I am grateful to all the surgeons, administrators, and assistants in our department, especially my colleagues in the Division of Cardiothoracic Surgery, whose generous assistance enabled me to meet the demands of the STS presidency. Most importantly, I wanted to thank my wife and best friend, Ellen. Her unwavering support and love are constant. Many of you know her as a busy cardiologist and leader in the American College of Cardiology, advocating, leading, mentoring, and caring for patients, all while making a house a home and supporting our family. Ellen, I cannot imagine this journey without you. I would not be here without your love and support. I also want to thank our children, Joe and Julia, who, despite their busy lives, are here to support me. You're wonderful young adults. Thank you for understanding my many nights away and missed events. I am proud of you both. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to serve as your president. Let us teach for tomorrow together. May this meeting inspire change, strengthen our commitment to patients, and accelerate our work as a professional community. Let us build the future of cardiothoracic surgery with confidence, curiosity, and a shared commitment to every patient we touch. The best is ahead of us. Thank you very much.